predict at the start of this election that an oddball celebrity TV doctor was going to run for Even if you said yes, I wouldn't believe you. But we have a strange cycle here. But you can feel good about the kind of campaign that we're running and the kind of campaign that we've built here. You know? Clean, issue-oriented campaign funded by you. If anyone remembers my first race in 2016.
Yes, we remember.
Have I changed all my views?
No.
Not a one of them. I haven't changed a one of them. You know, barely had money for gas. And that's the truth. That's the truth. And now, thanks to all of you, we're able to go up on television. We're able to reach as many folks as we possibly can. But we've done it thanks to each and every one of you. If that kind of consistency is important, then I hope I can have your support. If I haven't changed in all these years, the odds of me going to Washington, D.C. and suddenly saying, you know what? I love the filibuster. You know what? I love corporate special interest money. You know what? I really am against the federal government negotiating for better drug prices with the pharmaceutical companies. I'm against that now. You will never have that happen. Do you think it's odd that the biggest customer of pharmaceuticals in the world can't negotiate for better prices?
Yeah.
Do you think it's odd that if we did that, we could probably throw in free dental, hearing, and eye and vision just by negotiating better drug prices? I mean, think about that. You know, those are the kind of changes I want to make. Those are the kind of changes I hope you believe in this campaign enough to do what we need to do to win this primary. And if we win this primary, we're going to have to push back a lot of things in the general election. There's a town. Have you heard of a town called 40 Fort?
Yes. I live there.
Yeah, do we have any other 40 Fort residents? Yes, boy, I know I met some over there. 40 Fort. Yeah, the most famous case of voter fraud in America, right in your backyard. You know, 40 Fort. So,
did you ever get your money from Lieutenant Governor?
yeah, I'm going to tell that story. Yeah. So my counterpart in Texas, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, said, "I'll put out $1 million reward for voter fraud. We got to get to the bottom of this voter fraud." And I was like, "Hey, dude, we got some in Pennsylvania." And the first one and most famous one was my dude in 40 Fort. What did he do? What did he do? He took his departed mother's, say that tactfully, I don't want to sound insensitive. He took his departed mother's ballot and voted for President Trump. Right? And he was joined by 3 other like-minded individuals all across our beautiful Commonwealth to take their departed mother's ballots and vote for the former president. I can say that the former president did secure 100% of the departed mother vote in Pennsylvania. He did win in that category. And the other case of voter fraud was actually a living Republican father who assumed the identity of his Democratic son. He showed up at the polling place. This was in eastern Pennsylvania. So he voted, and he started asking some really bizarre questions like, and the poll workers were like, "That's kind of weird, but okay." So the guy goes out to his car, sits a while, half an hour, puts on a pair of sunglasses and a baseball hat. You know where this is going, right? So he walks back into the polling place, and he's like, "Hello." And he gives him his son's name, and "I'm going to vote," you know. And they're like, "Dude, you were just here half an hour ago." So they called the police, and they showed up, and they arrested him. And the poll worker that called the police got a $35,000 check from Dan Patrick for voter fraud because he had to cough it up. So, and I heard he's using it as a down payment on a house. So something good did come out of that, other than humiliating Dan Patrick and demonstrating that out of 7 million ballots cast in Pennsylvania, we had 5 cases of actual voter fraud. They were all detected. prosecuted, charged, convicted, and they're all on probation right now as we speak. 7 million ballots. You have a better chance of going to the sheets that I just came from, buying a lottery scratch-off, and winning the jackpot than encountering genuine voter fraud here in Pennsylvania. It's that secure. And these are the kind of things we got to push back on in this election. It's just the truth. You talk to some of these folks and they're like, I ask them, I'm like, well, you were on that same ballot in 2020, right? Well, what about that? And they're like, well, the voters love me, but they rigged it for Biden. I know that. You know? They don't really believe it. They don't really believe it. So I'm all for bipartisanship. Somebody asked me at the last event, could you work with Ted Cruz? And I'm like, do I have to? I could work with Ted Cruz if you send me to Washington, D.C. on genuinely bipartisan things. But if Ted Cruz wants to diminish or eliminate women's reproductive freedom, for example, there's no compromise. That's not bipartisan. If Ted Cruz is like the minimum wage stays at $7.25 or bust, I'm not going to work with that. That's not where I would end. If you are going to humiliate and punish and demean members of the gay and trans community through legislation like Don't Say Gay or all this other ridiculous stuff, that's not going to work. That's not bipartisan. It's not gonna If I make it to the debate stage with the Republican nominee, I'll be like, tell us right now, was there any voter fraud in Pennsylvania? You know?
And show the proof.
Yeah, show the proof. That's not bipartisanship. It's about the truth and the direction this country can take, because they've been taking away the guardrails that helped hold in 2020. That's a fact. Send me
marijuana.
What's that?
Legalize marijuana.
Well, I'm familiar with that position. Just a little bit, yeah. Did anyone come to my 67 county weed tour? Yeah. You know, so yeah, a lot's changed since I went on that tour. They called me a stoner and like, he's lying. We don't want this in Pennsylvania. Well, guess what happened in the last 3 months? Mike Regan, former U.S. Marshal and Republican leader in the Senate, wrote a bill to legalize weed in Pennsylvania. Do you know what he called it? Inevitable. You know, I have found, I don't know about you, but I have found the right side of history is often the right side of history on these issues like that. And that's the kind of candidate that you get in me. Trust me with your vote in May. You will always have my vote in Washington, D.C. That is a promise to you. The same values I campaigned on in 2016, I didn't change, but my campaign sure changed. And now we have an opportunity to flip this seat and go 2 for 2 blue, and I get to join this region's very own superstar, Bob Casey. I love me some Bob Casey. You know, Bob gets it done. Not a lot of flash, all substance, all steak and sizzle for Bob Casey. You know, what a great example. Can you imagine if it's 2 Democrats coming from Pennsylvania? That's what I aspire to. From the bottom of my heart, seriously, thank you for coming out and thank you for supporting this campaign. We're 2 weeks away from the primary, 2 weeks. And then it's November for the most important and flippable Senate seat race in this country. And I'm going to need every last one of you. That's the truth. I met a woman who was texting and phone banking for us. Thank you. If you're willing to knock on doors, whatever you're willing to do. You know, when I call up people, they're like, are you going to ask me for money? I'm like, no. And they're like, well, I'm going to vote for you. I'm like, thanks. Great. Whatever your support looks like, I'm grateful for. Okay? And if all you do is vote for me, that's all I could ask for. Thank you so much. The election is going really great. We've stuck to our principles. 2 weeks, we're going to have a winner, and then we're going to have a job to do. And that is to turn this seat blue. And if I'm lucky enough to be your Democratic nominee, I'm going to need every last one of you. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.